Okay, so imagine this for a second. What if the actual structure of your brain, the thing running the whole show up there, wasn't fixed? Not like concrete. What if it was? Well, constantly shifting, adapting, responding to everything you do, everything you experience, like a living map that's always being redrawn. Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, this incredible idea that your brain can reshape itself. It's called neuroplasticity. And we're going to look at the science, sure, but also zoom right in on how you can intentionally guide this process for your own well-being.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is that this rewiring ability, it's not just for when we're kids learning tons of stuff or, recovering from a serious injury, though it's definitely crucial then, but it's actually a lifelong thing, a capacity you have right now to, cultivate healthier thoughts, learn new things, build new pathways in your brain.
Exactly. And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To unpack how this brain adaptability works and specifically how things like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, maybe you've heard of it, and even simple things like repetitive positive prompts can literally, physically reshape your mind for better mental health, better overall life, really. Imagine actually taking part in designing your brain's architecture. Yeah, let's really get into the nuts and bolts here. Neuroplasticity. Your sources define it pretty clearly, right? As the brain's remarkable ability to change, adapt, and reorganize itself throughout life, based on experiences, learning, environment, even injury.
That's right. And it's not just some vague concept. We're talking about real physical changes, new pathways forming between neurons, existing ones getting stronger or sometimes weaker.
Think of it like your brain constantly updating its own software and hardware to handle whatever life throws at it or whatever you focus on learning.
So how does that actually happen? Like at the neuron level, what's the mechanism for this rewiring? Okay, so at the very core, it boils down to something called synaptic plasticity. This is all about the connections, the synapses, between your brain cells, your neurons. It's about forming new links or, crucially, strengthening the ones that already exist. Your sources mentioned the Heavian principle. You might have heard the phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together.
Ah, right. Fire together, wire together.
Exactly. It just means the more two neurons talk to each other, the stronger and faster their connection becomes. It's like forging a path in the woods. The more you use it, the clearer and easier it gets to travel. Makes that pathway more efficient.
Right. And it's tempting to think, okay, that's great for kids whose brains are like sponges. But you're saying this keeps happening, even in adults.
Oh, absolutely. That's a key takeaway. While, yes, plasticity might be, let's say, more intense in younger years, the adult brain absolutely retains a significant ability to change. It's really empowering when you think about it. It means you can keep learning new skills, adapting to big life changes, even recovering function after, say, brain injury. Like with stroke recovery, the brain can actually reroute functions around damaged areas. That's neuroplasticity in action, even later in life.
That's amazing. So our brains are always sort of ready to learn, ready to adapt. You mentioned there are different types.
Yes, generally we talk about two main kinds. First, there's structural plasticity. This is where the brain's actual physical structure changes. You might grow new neurons, that's neurogenesis, or more commonly form new connections, new synapses. Think about learning a musical instrument. The part of your brain controlling your fingers might actually get denser, physically change with practice.
Wow, okay. A physical change.
Then there's functional plasticity. This is more about the brain shifting responsibilities around. If one area gets damaged, like after a stroke, the brain can sometimes reassign that area's job to another undamaged part. It's like other departments stepping up when one is out of commission. Really crucial for recovery.
So, okay, this is all fascinating science. But why does neuroplasticity matter so much for you, our listener, day to day, beyond just recovering from something major?
Well, it's fundamental to almost everything we do and experience.
Yeah.
Like every time you learn a new fact, master a new skill, even work to change a habit or manage your mood. That's neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Your brain is physically reconfiguring itself in response to those demands. It's what makes you adaptable.
Okay, can you break that down? Like specific examples?
Sure. Think about learning and memory. Every new thing you learn, whether it's, coding, a new language, or just remembering someone's name, that involves strengthening specific neural connections.
Yeah.
Your brain reorganizes itself to hold that information.
Yeah.
Then there's adaptability. It's what allows you to adjust to new jobs, new cities, new challenges. It underpins resilience, basically. Your brain's flexibility helps you cope.
Makes sense.
We mentioned recovery from injury. It's the biological basis for how therapies help people regain functions after brain trauma. Forming those new pathways is key.
And the big one for today's chat.
Right. Mental health. This is huge. The ability to change your thought patterns, your behaviors, like through therapy or conscious effort, isn't just wishful thinking. It literally reshapes neural pathways. You can weaken negative loops like anxious thoughts and strengthen positive ones. Your sources even mention overcoming bad habits by replacing them. That's pure neuroplasticity. You're actively sculpting a healthier mental state.
And speaking of sculpting healthier states, this deep dive is brought to you by MindWaves, creator of Neural Dynamics. These are audio-video sessions designed specifically for reshaping thoughts, which fits perfectly with what we're exploring. So, okay, we get it. The brain can change. It has this amazing built-in capacity. The million-dollar question is, how do we intentionally tap into that? How do we steer the ship? Our sources point strongly towards two methods: cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and this idea of repetitive positive prompting.
Exactly. And these aren't just, feel-good ideas. They are practical approaches that directly leverage neuroplasticity. They use the brain's own rules to help rewire it for healthier patterns, purposefully.
Let's start with CBT. It's a well-known therapy. How does sitting down and talking, working through thoughts and behaviors actually change the physical brain? Can we, see it happen?
We can, actually, through brain imaging, like fMRI. CBT is structured to help you first identify, then challenge, and ultimately replace negative or unhelpful thought patterns with more balanced, positive ones. And this isn't just psychological. It physically changes the brain. There are a few key ways it does this.
Okay.
First, cognitive restructuring. When you repeatedly practice thinking differently, say, challenging a negative assumption, you are literally carving out new neural pathways. Over time, these new pathways become stronger, more accessible. The old negative pathway gets used less, weakens, so the positive thought becomes more automatic, less effort.
So you're making the positive thought the path of least resistance.
Precisely. Second, CBT helps with emotion regulation. It tends to increase activity in the prefrontal cortex, your brain's sort of CEO, which helps manage the amygdala, the emotion center, especially for fear and anxiety. So you get better at managing emotional reactions because the thinking part of your brain gets stronger control over the feeling part.
Right, strengthening the CEO.
And third, behavioral reinforcement. When CBT helps you change behaviors, like instead of avoiding something you fear, you approach it and you have a positive or even just neutral experience, your brain's reward system kicks in. You get a little dopamine hit, reinforcing that new, healthier behavior. This strengthens the circuits associated with doing the positive thing, making you more likely to do it again.
That's incredible. So it's genuinely not just about feeling better mentally. It's about tangible, measurable changes in brain function and even structure.
Exactly. Studies show these changes clearly. Increased activity in regulatory areas like the prefrontal cortex, decreased reactivity in the amygdala. It's physical evidence that these therapeutic conversations and exercises are actively remodeling the brain, which naturally leads to the question, if therapy could do this, what else can?
Which brings us perfectly to that second method, repetitive positive prompting. So this is things like affirmations, maybe gratitude journaling, visualization. How does the repetition part work its magic on the brain? Is it just brute force?
Well, not exactly brute force, but repetition is definitely the engine here. It goes straight back to Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. The more often you deliberately activate a positive thought pattern, or focus on gratitude, or visualize a successful outcome, the more you strengthen the neural circuits underlying those states. It's like exercise for specific brain pathways. The more reps you do, the stronger they get.
So you're essentially training your brain to default to those positive states more easily. Less effort required over time.
That's the goal, yes. You're reinforcing the beneficial circuits, making optimism, resilience, gratitude, making those states more readily available, more automatic. And it's not just structural. There are neurochemical effects, too. Consistently practicing positive prompts can boost neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, think motivation and mood, while at the same time potentially lowering stress hormones like cortisol. So you're changing the brain's chemistry in a positive direction, too.
And we have evidence for this as well. Beyond just people saying, oh, affirmations make me feel good.
Yes, we do. Brain imaging studies show, for example, that positive affirmations can activate the prefrontal cortex and reward centers, similar in some ways to CBT's effects. This supports better emotional regulation and self-worth. Things like gratitude journaling consistently shift focus to the positive, activating those reward pathways again and again. Over time, this repeated positive focus can genuinely weaken the pathways tied to negative loops, rumination, worry, and strengthen the ones for positive outlooks. It can lead to lasting changes in mood, outlook, and behavior.
Wow. Okay, so summing this up for everyone listening, what's the big takeaway here? It seems like both CBT and these repetitive positive practices aren't just nice ideas. They're grounded in science. They actively use your brain's own neuroplasticity to rewire it.
Absolutely. They are tools to intentionally sculpt your brain for better well-being, and the key ingredient, the catalyst, is consistent practice. Repetition truly is what makes the difference. It strengthens those new desired neural pathways, making positive thoughts and behaviors feel less like effort and more like second nature. They become more automatic, more enduring.
And the benefits aren't just narrow, right? It's not only about tackling anxiety or depression.
Not at all. Your sources point out that engaging in these practices boosts overall cognitive flexibility, your ability to think adaptably. It improves emotional regulation across the board. It enhances overall well-being. You're essentially building a more resilient, more resourceful, and, yes, a more positive mind.
So this deep dive really underscores something profound. Your brain isn't set in stone, not at all. It's this incredibly dynamic, adaptable organ, always being shaped by what you do, what you learn, and maybe most importantly, what you intentionally focus on. It's like a garden you can actively cultivate.
Exactly. And knowing that gives you agency. It means every positive thought you choose to focus on, every time you practice gratitude, every effort to reframe negativity, it's not just a fleeting mental event. It's a small act of construction, contributing to the physical architecture and the operational habits of your own mind. You're the architect.
So, here's something to think about as we wrap up. Knowing your brain is ready and willing to change, that it's designed to adapt based on your input. What's one small thought pattern or one tiny habit you could start intentionally rewiring today? Just one small step you could take consistently to start building a more positive pathway for yourself. This deep dive was brought to you by MindWaves, the creator of Neural Dynamics audio-video sessions designed to help you reshape your thoughts, putting these very principles into practice. We really hope this look into your brain's potential empowers you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and yes, keep rewiring.